What's going on, world? It's your boy at Big Game James underscore 36, and this is Big Games BS. Brought to you by Den Media Group. I'm a part of Den Media Group. Brought to you by thehumidor.com, the go-to website for all things cigar related. Get your humidors, your cutters, your torches, um, different great price brands of all your cigar needs. Already priced relatively low in comparisons to brick and mortars and other ones. But bigger than that, you type in Sports Day at checkout, you get you get 20% off. If you spend over 150 bucks, you know what else you get? You get free shipping. So really, you just pay your basically we're covering your tax and everything. Like it's a dope deal. Inside of Goodfellas Cigar Lounge, the greatest cigar lounge in the world. I am feeling motivated. We're gonna put these things. We're gonna franchise this bad boy.
The world needs to see what we got going over here at Goodfellas. And it's just again, it's a great vibes. We did a big alumni brunch. This past weekend was amazing.
If you're a Florida State alum, anybody could have came. No white people showed up, but I told y'all could have came. You could have got some good food, man. If you saw the video, like my boy, I'm gonna give flowers what I could give them. Shout out to my guy DJ Pierre Fan, aka DJ Uncle Black. He was on the ones, twos, and threes with the music. Shout out to Tracy Irvine, who was there making sure that everything was on point with the bartenders and making sure the cigars were flowing. Shout out to FSU Black Alumni Association for allowing us to be able to host it. Shout out to Miles taking pictures. We should have some video. And shout out to Charlie Hunt.
So part of my today we'll have a little bit longer intro because this weekend was pretty epic, and I'm going to go and talk about Charlie Hunt and what we spoke about. I've interviewed him before. I played with his son, Charlie Hunt Jr. at Florida State. I also played against him in high school because he went to University Christian, and we played them my senior year. Really, really dope guys, but we'll get to that. But like going back to what my weekend was, it was this weekend filled with the grind. Friday night, I got a chance to sit down and talk with a young man who I get a chance to mentor that goes to Florida Agricultural and Mechanical University, FAMU. Isaiah Land, the reigning FCS Player of the Year. We went over NIL strategy, talked about some different things, got him on the same page, look for some more content coming from out of him. He's going to the Swag Media Days this week coming up. I believe tomorrow he leaves to go to Birmingham. I think that's where it's at. And so then I hung out with my old heads. My old heads, man, I love. If you don't have old black men in your life, then you gotta get some white, black, Hispanic, doesn't matter. Get you some elders in your life, but get you some old black men. Just the way they talk, the things that they've lived through, some of the stuff that they know, the game. There's like unique things. Like an old black man, you can smell him. It's just like an old Spanish man, you can smell him from miles away. And you don't really appreciate it when you're young. Just like when I was young, I had a cousin Yvette who wore bright red lipstick. The shit was just stupid bright. And I hated when she kissed me. But as a man now, I like red lipstick on women. It's like crazy. It's something, it does something for me. But like then I was like, man, get that bright. And then she would kiss you and you couldn't get it off of you. So like, but old black men, I used to smell my Uncle Harry before he walked in the room. And I used to be like, man, but then you get older and then you start seeing how women react to it. And you're just like, man, I got to get my cologne game up. I get my dress game up, get my cologne game up. So I'm going to get some discipleship. But anyways, we were chewing the fat. We were just talking about some stuff. We had cigars. And then on Saturday, we had a Micanopy 1851 event, first part of our speaker series. I want to say thank you to Jacoby McDaniel, and I want to say thank you to Lonnie Pryor, who both came out. And we had about 25 guys. It was another event that went on, kind of took some things up. I also want to say thank you to Trey Hackett. So one of the things that we were able to do is to connect the dots. And I spoke as well, try to get these young men some free game. A lot of them don't understand what's available to them on the university level. And a lot of them don't know what they're going through. And that's been a struggle for them. So when you don't know what's available to you, like even and this is what name, image, and likeness can do. It affords the opportunity for us to be able to get in front of these guys and give them a little bit of game that they ain't been able to get in past years. So those young men came in and they were hungry. And the one common theme was we don't want to be given anything. We want to be able to earn it. Show us the game, like teach us. And I think that's what a lot of people don't recognize with name, image, and likeness because you're so caught up on the other stuff. And it just even explaining to them the logic behind a lot of different things. But Jacoby was a 5-star former number 1 D tackle in the nation that played at Florida State. He got a chance to play with the Cleveland Browns for one season on practice squad. Lonnie Pryor was a 4-star, one of the top safeties and running backs in the nation. Came to Florida State, was a fullback, got a chance to play with 3 teams in the NFL a couple seasons. Again, both of them didn't work out, but they both went on pro and something else in life, and they were able to leverage their relationships that they were able to get at Florida State. And that's kind of what we're teaching these young men. And anybody who's a former alum, anybody who's a fan, you have a business, you have a trade, you have something. Come on, hit me up in my inbox. Let's work on getting you in front of these guys. Let's get them some internships. Let's get them some things. This is what you could do in name, image, and likeness. And a lot of these guys, again, they're hungry for what they're going to do off the field. Shout out to Jazz, the new offensive lineman who came from South Carolina. We had Robert Scott there. We had I'm not even going to try to say the kid's name, but he's a D tackle, was a 3-star. Would have been a 4-star in next year's class, but they got him to come early. The boy's 17 years old. He lying. The boy looked like he at least 30. 30 with 2 kids and a mortgage, man. That's why he's still balling. But he's solid guys. And for the first time in my life, I felt small. I mean, a few times, like these guys are some big, we had some large mammals in there. And we haven't had large mammals for a while. If anybody remembers a year ago, I took my son Trey to FSU's practice, and he asked us, Dad, is this a high school practice or is this a college practice? And that just is never a good. So when people used to be like, yo, James, you hard on these guys. Well, it's only 2 people tell the truth consistently. Drunks and kids. Like the truth comes out when you're drunk and you're an alcoholic. And kids just naturally say what's on their mind. They don't have the filter yet. So that's what went on with that. We had a great time. Shout out to Leroy Smith. Go check out Leroy Cares Foundation. I say this a lot. The way you're going to be able to show, whether you're a Florida State fan or you can take this game to your university. If you're going to show these young guys how the NIL works and how you're going to be good, show them through the past and the present, how you support the past and the present. That's the best indicator of future performance is basically past. The future indicators for performance are based on your past performances. So Leroy Cares Foundation, my dog had a 4-hour event. It was tough. I was in that thing struggling, but it was really well done in the Champions Club. Corey Simon was there. Ken Alexander, another guy, I think it was Ken Fowler. I met him. Great guys, great support. Corey Simon's really trying to help bridge the gap from former players to come back. It worked with boosters in a way that's different. And Leroy showed what he does with his Diamonds in the Rough, sports, education, and entertainment. And all these things with finance. Took some young men who never been on an airplane before on a flight to go to Vegas and ball out. And that's a great experience, man. And I talk about that because that's my teammate and he supports me. I support him. And then we went out. Everybody looked real good. And then I did something that I never thought I would feel like. I was the old man in the club. Now, granted, my business partner, Mike, is way older than me. But he was the old man, but he had a ball. I didn't. I went to a club, and even though people look at Goodfellas as like a nightclub, this isn't a nightclub. I go to lounges. It's a completely different vibe. Like we ain't got people all up in your face. And if I do go to a club, I'm out of town and I'm in VIP. I'm in a VIP area, but it's at least music I listen to. These young kids, I don't know what the fuck they listening to. But a lot of the football players that were there came by. What's up, OG? What's up, this? And man, these little girls were coming in, trying to get me excited, trying to get me to dance. And I'm like, girl, I have a kid your age, man. Like, I don't like, this isn't fun to me. Like, this isn't like, but it was business trip. We had a great time. We did that. I woke up early and I drove over to something that was more my speed. And that was yesterday morning. We had the Black Alumni Brunch, and I'm mad at Shannon because Shannon made some food that I didn't know he was capable of making. Now Shannon, Cheese and Freddie, and then now Will Mack, my former no, like they're the ones who handle all my food for my tailgates. People like, James, you don't know how to grill. You're less of a man. You're this. Why would I grill when I know people who know how to do this shit? Like, I'm not going to operate outside of my strength. I do what I'm good at, and that's how I stay doing what I'm good at. Cheese can grill. Cheese knows how to do all that stuff. Cheese made some chicken wings, man, that was so delicious that I cussed them out and said, it's kind of like, oh my bad, I gotta go back. Before, let me talk about the delicious. This is when I left the club, right? This is how I know these kids these days don't have situational awareness like we had in our past. I almost punched the kid. Not because he was rude or disrespectful. He stepped on my Pharrells. He stepped on a $400 tennis shoe that's cloth material. And you can't just get that out. Like, I got to get that professionally clean, man. It's kind of like I felt like Denzel in Training Day. You spilled that on alpaca. That's $1,000, $10,000 alpaca. You don't scrub that shit. You blot that shit. Yeah, that's what I was thinking. I was like, let me get out of here before I throw this kid in the pool for stepping on my shoes, and he doesn't even know what he did. But anyway, going back to Cheese. Cheese made these chicken wings that were so damn delicious. He had these waffles, grits, shrimp, and Dewey sausage. We had some salmon shit that looked like chickens, chicken bites. They had bacon. We didn't have eggs, but like I know none of the other Black alumni events had this. And who even knows if the Black alumni owned the venue in which they used? That's what made Jacksonville so dope. Shout out to Erica Kegler and those cats for even giving me the opportunity to host it. But when we were doing this and when Erica Kegler and Kim Miller came in and talked to me, they broke down what this year was for Florida State. And I like to talk like this because a lot of you people act like the world was like when slavery ended, everything went great. You act like when the Civil Rights Act was passed, magic pixie dust was spread and everybody acted right. And then you put these black and white photos, and because a lot of us don't have any semblance of time, we act like this racist shit was so long ago. So Florida State has been integrated for 60 years. And while that is a long time and a lot of things that happened, just to put it in perspective, I was in college. I first went to college 20 years ago. And I don't remember half the shit that happened in college, but it wasn't that long ago. It feels like yesterday I was walking across the stage to graduate from high school still. And a lot has happened, but it still wasn't that long ago. So 60 years ago, we had the first African-American students. And in 1969 was the first year that the football team was integrated. Actually, 68 technically, but 69 was the first year that African-American players lettered at Florida State. You had Charlie Hunt Jr., you had Rob Anderson, you had, I hope I said that right, you had Eddie McMillan, and you had JT Thomas. Three of those guys, Charlie Hunt, JT, and Eddie McMillan, went on to play in the NFL. So these were the first African-American players from Florida State to play in the NFL. And I'm having a conversation with these gentlemen. I played with Charlie Hunt Jr. at Florida State. And so again, that's you're a generation removed from having guys who basically broke color barriers. And it's very exhausting to always be one of the first. And I don't think that's something that a lot of white people don't really understand is when you're the only person, when you're always the only person in the room and you're always the first, it wears on you and it takes a certain amount of courage. So when they were telling me about this, I said, man, well, you know, Charlie Hunt Sr. lives here. And I was telling them a story. Oh my God, James, can you get here? I've talked to Mr. Hunt before. I've talked to Ed. I've talked to all of the original four. Phenomenal stories, especially when you get a chance to talk to these people. And as I was saying before, you got to find an old black man to be able to vibe with. Old black men can tell you stories that can make you feel good about the future of life. They can tell you stories about like past exploits. They can tell you like all these things, and it's like fresh in their mind. So, you know, we're talking about what it was like for him to get recruited. And so many of these parallels still go on today. I didn't get FAMU didn't really heavily recruit me, but I would have loved to have gone to FAMU or had an opportunity. That same thing happened in '69 with Charlie Hunt, and he was like the second best quarterback in the state of Florida, ranked there out of Wolfson High School. He was also considered, and I didn't even know he went to Wolfson High School. He was also considered one of the. They recruited him to Florida State to be the second black quarterback in the Southeast. I think he said Memphis, but I believe he went to Tennessee. And there's a great ESPN short about this guy from out of Alabama. He became the first starting quarterback in the Southeastern Conference from out of the state of Alabama. And it just shows you, like, again, I talked about this white comedian saying you want to end like racism or homophobia, like put a gay team and let them beat the University of Alabama and like make it like remember the Titans. They solved racism in 4 weeks with the football team going undefeated. But it's funny, but when I think about it, like one of Alabama's governor, George Wallace, was known for saying segregation, again, not that long ago. Segregation today, segregation tomorrow, segregation forever. He stood in front of the steps and he had to be arrested by the National Guard. Now, this is the wildest story, Miles. Miles, but it's about to get wilder, though. This is how important football is to white people in the South. This man got arrested. Bear Bryant has USC come over to Alabama and USC whoops their ass with like 2 or 3 black people. Bear Bryant said that then, because I always tell people Bear Bryant is the most iconic figure in the civil rights movement that's not talked about. You know what happened after Bear Bryant got his ass whooped? They went and got the first black player. Segregation was destroyed. Now, you know what Bear Bryant did? This guy who ended up going to Tennessee to be Bear Bryant had George Wallace, the governor, call this kid and tell him that I would love to see you play at the University of Alabama. Now, a man who is known for getting arrested to keep segregation in place saw that these colored boys could run and said that he was going to do it. Now, that guy went on to Tennessee to be the first starting quarterback at the University of Tennessee. And Charlie, Mr. Hunt, was brought in, and he tells a story about what happened. He came in, there were 15 quarterbacks on the roster. He was the only one, and none of those guys ended up playing offense. They all played defense. And Mr. Hunt went on to play defensive end, if I remember correctly. JT and Eddie McMillan played DB. I think Bobby was a defensive lineman. It was just, he was telling the stories about recruitment. He was telling the stories about how it felt when he was sitting on, he said he had a little Foot Locker with all his belongings, everything he owned. And he said he see all these white boys coming up and they got their hunting rifles. He's like, I see 100 white people come with guns and I'm the only black person. And he said this is stuff we recorded it, so we'll play it. It'll be on our YouTube channel, and the Black alumni will get access to it. My man said he sat on that footstool. He said if he didn't see another black person, he was taking his ass back home. He's like, but then he said he eventually saw Bobby, he saw JT, he saw all these other guys, and it was amazing to hear him talk about the courage and going through that experience again. Getting a chance, what he's doing now, man, and the way he walked in that room, he walked like and excuse my language and my candor, because I talk about things and I describe things the way I want to. But Mr. Hunt walks like he's that motherfucker still. Yeah. He walked in there. He was in that thing. I was like, yo, Mr. Hunt is still that motherfucker. When I'm in my 70s, I want to be like him. And I've talked to Eddie, I've talked to JT. All these guys are super energetic. They're dope. But I want to echo the fact that they're still alive. And so when we talk about these things and how much different everything is, they're still in there. They're still used to this shit. And when you say make America great and all those things, and I'm not here to be political, but like, I gotta imagine that Mr. Hunt's like, well, what fucking decade was that? You know what I'm saying? Like, he might be saying like, yo, it's pretty dope right now. But this is a man who went through all kinds of shit. But the dopest story, and you got to listen to him tell it because he told me this story the first time he didn't name a name. This motherfucker dropped the name this time. Like I almost like and I say this because this is how you know how you can end racism is if more people would do what Mr. Hunt just did. See, a lot of people got to be racist in those times, and people got to forget about it. Like not everybody was able to be like George Wallace and be up there like that. But like my man named, I think he said my man's name was like Will Allen. He's like, Will Allen said some shit in the newspaper. We went up. And what was worried about that. And what was dope is my guy came in and said and one of the things that these young black people are saying these days is we not like our ancestors. We got hands or some shit like that. I have never thought about doing anything like this, and none of the goons these days does shit like this. All the black people on Florida State's campus went to this dorm, and they knew into a white dorm, and that white dorm, like them cats knew, oh shit, it's about to go down. They said, where the fuck Will at? They said he's upstairs in this room. They said he's that way. Like they snitched on him so quick. And what was dope is they didn't whoop everybody's ass. They just whooped Will's ass. They got Will, whooped his ass, drug him to the student union, made him get on the table, made him apologize for being a racist, whooped his ass a little bit more, and then sent him on his very way. So a couple of things. Violence is necessary sometimes. So they whoop some ass. Sometimes you got to whoop ass. But secondly, you got to name names. So Will Allen, that went to Florida State between 69 and 72, 73, if that's your pawpaw got his ass whooped for being racist. So I just want you to know that that's your legacy and that's your generation. Because again, Mr. Hunt is Charlie Hunt Jr.'s dad, who's my age, who now has grandkids. So again, it's not that far removed. We're a couple years removed from bigotry and bullshit and badasses like him who I only want to be. So my goal right now, I got to get through this goddamn book bag drive. I still got like $30,000 to raise in the next 3 weeks. So if anybody wants to help with that, check the social media out. But when we're done with that, I got some other things I want to do. But through Micanopy 1851, we're going to raise the funds to be able to videotape, get these guys to Tallahassee for homecoming. I want those 4 men to have a round table to get their flowers while they can smell it. And I want to hear more stories of racists getting their asses whooped. Because JT Thomas has a dope story too. And this guy, unfortunately, wasn't a racist. This guy was upstanding. But he told me a story about the first game I think he started against the University of Florida. It was in Gainesville. And the KKK got to their lockers before. And they left him an unflattering note in his locker, basically saying, we're going to show you colored boys how us white boys get down. Our white wide receiver, even though he was Spanish, his last name Garcia. If you're a Florida fan, you should know him. Go look it up. And he's like, he's going to work you, boy. And then when he's done working you, we're going to come work your ass after that. Florida won the game, but that wide receiver didn't do a goddamn thing that day on JT. And JT said years later, when they were both in the NFL, the guy asked him, like, hey, man, what was going on in your head that day, man? Because, like, you whooped my ass, bro. Like, I didn't – he's like, this was beyond some rival shit. Like, you were possessed. And then he told him, he said, God damn it, I ain't white. I'm Hispanic. Like, you beat me like I was fucking white. He's like, you had to get it. He's like, somebody had to pay for what they said to me. But these stories need to be told, not just because of a black and white thing. These are great American stories. And what made me even want to get Mr. Hunt on bigger was Barry Smith. And I talked about Barry Smith last week. He got inducted into the Florida Sports Hall of Fame, 69 receptions, I believe over 1,200 yards his senior year. He was an All-American. He spoke so highly of the original 4. And then when I got told about this, then I was like, man, I got to get Mr. Hunt on. And it was cool because this is how you know when you really have impact and when you really work. So like I know a lot of white people say I got a black friend. I know a lot of, they say they got this. But Barry Smith talked about those guys so amazingly. And then when I saw Mr. Hunt, I had to say, yo, Mr. Hunt, I talked to Barry Smith, and Barry Smith had whoop 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 to say about you. And the first thing he said before he said he's like, that's a real ally. He's like, that guy was about us. So like I'm gonna try to do some things. I want to get Barry. I want to get some of the other guys that are alive to talk to us about what the original four were like. And it was cool because they're all telling the same stories from a different perspective. So Barry's perspective is a little bit different than Mr. Hunt, but they're still telling the same story. So that makes you feel like it was real. And the realness of that was what really stood out to me. Like my guys were like, it was like it was yesterday listening to him talk. So again, when people say that's in the past, like so was Pearl Harbor. 9/11 was over 20 years ago, but we still never forget. A lot of these guys can remember this like it was yesterday, and it was just so dope. It just makes me want to talk. I'm a history guy, so that shit was amazing. So going into more things again, that was my Florida State experience and a lot of stuff. You know, another big thing happened to me this weekend as I was talking about the book bag drive, and I want to shout this guy out. This was really crazy to me. Like I couldn't help but be taken aback by their current head coach at my alma mater. See, a lot of you people believe that sucking up and kissing ass will get you where you need to be at. I don't treat anybody bad on purpose. Like if you're my enemy, you're my enemy. But I try not to have them. I do a job though. My job is to be critical and like I said, critique what's going on in sports. But Mike Norvell did something that, you know, I'm always impressed by the way Mike Norvell carries himself. He's not a hater. He's not a jerk. He understands the position that he's in. Now, granted, you still got to win. But I know Jeff Cup, who does a really good job with athlete relations, he was reached out to by Corey Simon, and a lot of different channels went through, right? But Coach Norvell sends me a message. And he's like, he's sorry that they won't be able to come, right? And he says, we'll be in practice and meetings the weekend you are doing your Tallahassee Give Back weekend. Will you need volunteers to come out? My wife, Maria, and daughter asked about possibly coming out. We also want to make a donation through our Keep Climbing Family Foundation. We would like to donate 125 bags representing for each member of the football team. Thank you for your impact on the community. Can you send me the address to send the check to? And I tell him, like, man, coach, you don't have to do this. I really appreciate it, though. This means a lot to me. And, you know, I tell him this stuff, and I'm like, hey, do you mind me sharing? He's like, some of the players might be able to come out on Sunday, depending on the time. We have treatments, and we got meetings that afternoon. Just know the coaches will be meeting after going over the scrimmage and prepping for meetings. So I won't be able to make it out. If you believe that it helps the cause to generate more donations for the event, please share. I just love what you're doing, and I want to assist in making an impact. You don't have to name me or my family specifically, but I would love for the people to know that there's a foundation that exists. And then he said, you're doing great things in Jacksonville and in Tallahassee. Just know you have a platform and working to make positive impact. Appreciate that. Talk to Mariah about it. And it was something that she and I both wanted to be a part of. So she runs the foundation. Hopefully her and my daughter can come back soon. Now, let me tell you about this. Now, Coach Norvell said it now. I'll be like, look, hey, Coach, we in the hood now. We out here now. This ain't the rap hood, Coach. We in the hood. But we're going to make sure she's taken care of, man. But again, that's a man that I could let my son play for. Outside of the, you know, the X's and O's, like, you got to win too. But like, again, like, and that's why I'm like, damn, if he wins, man, woo. Like, even just how deliberate the donate, everything he does is deliberate. The fucking donation was deliberate. Like, most people would just tell me, yo, James, I'm going to give you $4,500. James, I'm going to give you $5,000. James, I'm going to give you, because it's $4,500 what it comes down to. That man said, I'm going to give you a donation for 125 125 bags representing how many guys are on the roster. So he's given a bag for every member of the Florida State football team. Like, right. I mean, like, yo, in a world of NIL, having a guy that can move like that as your coach is a fucking phenomenal example. Now, if I could coach, if I could just get y'all to win 9 games, go to a bowl game, everything is going to be just so much better, man. So I'm rooting for him. Again, as I always tell people, everybody has a job to do. The player's job is to play. The coach's job is to coach. Us in the media, our job is to critique what the coaches are doing, what the players are doing, and then the fans get to consume all of this. So I got a job to do. He's got a job to do, and it was great. That just kind of summed up my weekend. Normally, I don't like doing all of this stuff, but like it was like bananas about how crazy and how great this weekend was. My first thing I want to talk about too is I did a spaces the other day, and shout out to at @asharp52 because I ain't gonna lie, my man has been on fire ever since he heard that spaces, and I just talked about how irresponsible the media is at times. Like the media doesn't. I've literally never had an article written by any FSU media about any of my camps or any of the things that I've done. Don't really care. I'm just saying it hasn't been done. They have shared some, but like it's a reason why it's a hatred because I'm technically an op, and I get it. Why boost the ops? But my man A Sharp said, any thoughts on Struggle Made, Freddie Stevenson's book, an upcoming documentary, or James's backpack drives and food drives? And like they're making up shit every other day to write about in the slow news cycle. But I'm not gonna just bash those guys for this, right? Who I'm going to bash is similar to what I was talking about with On 3 and their reporting. Mike Farrell posts something, and this is what I was stressing to the young men at the Micanopy 1851 event, is control your narrative. And when somebody's going contrary to your narrative, you bash their ass and you shut them out. I want every young player to realize this. Could you control your story? If they're not saying what your story is the right way, call them out, block them out. Don't talk to them anymore. The only time I want every player to understand this. Unless that SID specifically tells you that you have to do this, or it's after a game, you owe nobody an interview that you don't want to talk to. You don't owe them nothing. You're the story. You're the resource. You're that guy. And what Caleb Williams did, not in the most grammatically sound way, but it was good. What the kid needed to do from Pittsburgh, that's at USC now, needed to do to the guy from On 3, what the young man Rashida and his camp did to the people on On 3 who wrote the article about him making money, and what I hope our Florida State guys start doing when they start seeing these guys get a little out of pocket is this is what Mike Farrell tweeted. Reaction or the meme was this. Caleb Williams' dad says OU fans drove his son away. Now, when you tweet that, it's incendiary. Because now you know what's going to happen. OU fans are going to be like, man, fuck you. You soft as shit, blah, blah, blah. And then there's a group of people who will go and say, see, this is what happens. You be mean to these players and then they leave. And when I told those players, I told them the story what Alame Watkins told me, my grandmama. My grandmama said, nobody told your dumb ass to read. If you don't read what the fuck the fans are saying, you don't have to worry about what the fuck the fans are saying. But this is wild because you're putting you're putting this on your platform, and Mike Farrell has 154,000 followers, and he's considered, when he was with Rivals, one of the go-to and premier sources with college athletics. So when he speaks, it's like canonized, and people will probably in these tweets that are talking and making entire assumptions off of what this young man's character is based upon what this picture that we don't even know was said or not said. And this is what Mike Farrell says, reaction to this. Mine is this is beyond ridiculous. Kid was gone, and entering the portal and not expecting OU to get another quarterback is laughable. So, what could be meant by this, or what couldn't be meant by this, is the point is that if it was said, you got a home run. If it's not, then you get what this happens. And this is how you check media. Now, players, if you do it and there's no substance to it, then you're fucking up too. But like, this is how you change the narrative. Caleb Williams comes out and says, "You want to take this down? The fans and my old teammates are the reasons are the reasons on why I almost stayed." Which I think is the more mature approach, but basically you sunning this guy. One of my biggest problem in media is gatekeeping. And the gatekeeping that goes on by people who look absolutely nothing like the guys that they write about. And you're trying to control and advance the culture. But you young men, I need y'all to realize you have what you have with your social media. How many people does Caleb? Caleb, you have almost 60,000 people following you. Every time you post something, you have the pull. You create your own story. You create your own narrative. You talk to the media that you want to talk to. See, in the NIL world, it's also more profitable. I'm not giving, like what I'm teaching my guys to do, we're not giving gyms to people who not donating to the fucking cause. You think I'm just gonna give you this good advice just so you can sell subscriptions? You can get the clicks, and I get nothing from it. You're not producing any content for me. You're not helping elevate or build my channels. See, that's the real fear in all of this. Is that the rabbit now has the gun and the rabbit can control what it is that they need to do and what they don't. Again, you got to freeze guys. Like, and I'm not saying Mike Farrell's a bad guy. What I am saying is when they're willingly giving and putting out bad information, you got to freeze their asses out until they start acting accordingly. With the kid Jazz from South Carolina, and this is no beef on War Chant. My beef on War Chant is this. You're putting out people's commitments before they even get a chance to do it. And they're telling you to not do that. But you're doing it anyway. And so what happens when these kids smoke you out? And they stop talking to you because they don't trust you. Kids, you control your own narrative. You control your story. You let people who know how to talk about what you're going through in the manner in which you're going through in the best way possible. None of us can do this job without you. Well, I can. I actually know football. so I don't need to have an abundance of I don't need to have an abundance of guys just like co-signing. I think always interviewing people is a sign that you can't carry your show and that you don't have an opinion. So that's just my 2 cents. Excuse me on that. Side note, I just saw Angela Simmons. Man, Angela Simmons is fine as hell, bro. Have you seen the pictures of it? Like that's good that's good organic, certified organic. And that gets me into kind of my hater clocks right now. I'm gonna be a long one. I got 2. Hater clock brought to you by Green Acre Sporting Goods. Green Acre Sporting Goods is the go-to outdoor place. It's about as manly as you can get. About as manly. You got knives, gun. The only thing they could do that'd be more manly is to have liquor, have scotch. But I don't think you can have scotch and guns in the same place. Got to be a rule against that, right? But crossbows, highly recommend them. Fun. I showed a little bit, but we'll have it this week, Miles?
Yeah.
So we'll have the video this week, but like the coolest thing about the crossbow, right? It makes 2 noises and it's very fast. It's pew, doo. And that's what death sounds like. So, guns are loud and blah blah blah, but like I can hit you from 100 feet and you wouldn't even know it. Now, I don't think they kind of brought up that crossbows are not. I think I got it. Crossbows are not effective self-defense weapons, but I just want one. Like, so if I ever get a big property, like I just want to be able to have one of these bad boys. So like if y'all come protesting on my lawn or something like that, and like my the radar detector or whatever, my ring light, my ring camera on the property goes off, I'm just gonna line you up and just be like, Chew! Like just to get one person. And it doesn't even matter if you're having like the medieval breastplates on. That shit is going down, dog. That mess was crazy. But they have that fishing equipment, guns, canics, pump shotties. They got the AR still. And a lot of you guys, really, I guess I have a 3-part head clock. You motherfuckers who are in my comments saying you need to do your research. AR doesn't stand for assault rifle. It stands for the name of the company and what's bitch. I know that. But the motherfucker Anthony Richardson and everybody else in America, nobody goes around. AR can also stand for assault rifle. JC can stand for James Coleman or Jesus Christ. Like it can stand for a lot of different things, man. Multiple things could be true, regardless of what it actually stands for. People are associating it with that, and that's why the boy wants to change his name. How about you do your research and get off your fat ass and go be something and call yourself AR-15? How about that? And then you can tell people when you've made something of significance or something of note, man, I call myself AR because everybody's confusing it for assault rifle. And it's really, let me go. I'm going to tell you what it really is so people can.
I don't know why people do that. They even have a voice for you, a tone of voice, the voice you just used.
Yep.
Yet people still do that condescending move.
It's really, and that's really what it comes down to. It's condescending.
Yeah.
It's armor light rifle is what AR stands for. I've yet to hear anybody just, man, grab me that armor light rifle.
That ALR.
Let me ask you, what do you do with an armor light rifle? And it's an assault type rifle. And yes, you can say an assault rifle is fully automatic. And the AR-15 is not fully automatic. It's a semi-automatic. You know what else you can use semi for? Semantics. The bottom line is whether people use that, whether that's the proper use of it or whether it's not. The thing about Spanish people have a lot of slangs that aren't the proper usage of the words. Like we have that in America. Like we have this. Matter of fact, glizzy is a nickname for a hot dog. It's also a nickname for a gun. It's very fucking confusing. But in the proper context, what the fuck it means. If I say this dude deep-throated a glizzy, you don't think he deep-throated a Glock 40. You're thinking he ate a beef or pork parts on a bun with mustard on it, and preferably a little bit of ketchup and maybe some relish, depending on how you feel, some chili. You know exactly what I was saying then. If I go around, I guarantee you this right now. If I go say, hey, man, that kid wet up that school with an armor light rifle, you're not going to know what the fuck I'm talking about. But if I go and say, yo, that AR, that dude had an AR, you're going to be like, damn, he went to assault people. Again, like, why the fuck is that your argument? Like, why does it even matter? But anyways, whatever. It's not what my hater clock is. My hater clock is women.
Oh, Lord.
And not all women, but just some of y'all. Your logic, the understanding. And I prefaced this before with all this and saying I love y'all. I love all y'all. One of my favorite songs is Girls, Girls, Girls by Jay-Z. And that's just how it starts. I love all y'all. I love it. It's just, but the difference is there's a lot of consistencies and there's a lot of differences. And sometimes logic is misplaced. in a lot of use. And the main one is, as Bill Burr, one of my favorite comedians, has a special. And it's all really tying into the same thing with the WNBA. And I want y'all to win, but you're using false comparisons to try to get what you want, which is the end goal, which is equality in pay. But the way you're doing it is you're essentially asking for somebody to give you money. You're taking the Birkin bag argument, the dude should do whatever, the dude should provide, blah 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 argument, and you're inadvertently placing it on an equality thing. See, if you want equality, you want to make the same amount of money LeBron James makes. I think you should get the same amount of money if you earn it. And what Bill Burr was going in, and again, I welcome intelligent debate that doesn't involve name calling. And one thing that I think women haven't understood is that you're the crux, you're the product. Excuse me, you're the person that's being marketed to. I know right now if I go, and I should have had you do this, and this might be what we do to kind of further along this thing, is just go to the streets and ask a random man to name 5 NBA teams. And then ask him to name 5 WNBA teams.
I think we'll do better than the women.
But then I'm going to say do the same thing for women. And two things are going to happen for the vast majority of them. Most of them are going to say be able to name 5 NBA teams and not be able to name 5 WNBA teams, or they won't be able to name 5 of each. They may be able to name 5 altogether. And Bill Burr's basically what he was wrapping up and trying to say in his special where he talked about it. And let me go try to find the quotes because it was good quotes. He's like, yeah. Look at the WNBA. They have been playing in front of 300 to 400 people a night for a quarter of a century, which is true, 26 years. Not to mention it's a male subsidized league, meaning that in the NBA owners, like basically what LeBron's doing is taking away from his potential to make more money to give the money to the women. Just saying, that's what's happening. We gave you a league and none of you showed up. Where are all the feminists? That place should be packed with feminists. Faces painted, wearing jersey, going fucking nuts like guys do. Again, when you look at games, you see the fat guys wearing that. You see them wearing their jerseys. I actually own a WNBA jersey from a girl who I trained who plays for the Minnesota Lynx, who's from Jacksonville. I don't know how many women that I know actually own WNBA jerseys. None of you went to the fucking games. You failed them, not me, not men. Women failed the WNBA. And then that's when it goes in. You don't really give a fuck about them. And what I mean, and this is the other part of it. And this is why, again, he's not bringing in even more context with it. Do you know who buys the majority of NFL jerseys? Women. Do you know who buys the majority of NBA jerseys? The person who typically has the pocketbook or the purse strings in the relationship is the woman, and they're the ones who do the buying. So you could easily just take it over there. And it's easy to say, well, we're not being marketed to. But how does marketing work? You have to give a fuck first if you expect the rest of us to give a fuck. And if an all-woman dominated league isn't getting women there, I'm going to take it a step further. Do you know it's the club motto? You know why women get in free before 12? It's because they're going to bring them in. Do you know where men would go if there was a bunch of women? Now, outside of the league being boring as fuck. It's fundamental. We did the thing on Friday, right, Miles? Where nobody wants to see fundamental basketball. 25 years into the NBA, they were playing the same brand of basketball that WNBA's play. But when you ask women, hey, lower the goal. You know what happens when you lower the goal to 9 feet? It's finna be dunk city. More threes are going to be shot from further away. It becomes a more exciting game. But again, you're not watching the game. Same thing with soccer. You don't sell any fucking tickets. Nobody's going to women's soccer games. You're playing in 20,000 seat arena with 1,500 people showing up. That's not a good night. A promoter lost his job because of you. Nobody's watching your sport, and you're gonna come and get mad at men. They keep doing that shit. Why are you yelling at us? It's not my job to give a fuck about women's soccer. And though it's harsh, Bill Burr's very harsh in his delivery, which makes it funny. It is not the job of men in an equality situation to put it over the top. I'll give you this. There's one of my friends, Nina Perkins, who is obviously a woman. She works for an attorney here who brought a ABA basketball team, the Jacksonville Giants. She did a really interesting thing in the beginning, and they were very successful. See, money wasn't really generated from ticket sales like that. The money is generated from marketing and advertising, right? And all they want to do is know that their product is going to be seen by people. They gave away tickets. They went out and partnered with basketball teams and programs. They partnered with the shelters. They partnered with Boys and Girls Club. They were giving away. I remember one time I gave away like 200 tickets to all my clients, and they were good seats. And the arena, which I think holds like 12, 15,000, was consistently having 9,000 people show up, which made her job of telling Florida Blue other people, hey, we have 9,000 people that will be in the arena that will see your ads. And you know what happened? They got money. And that simple thing, because if it's better to have somebody in the seats, because what you're not understanding is that arena cost is the same whether 300 people show up or 30,000 show up. You're a lost leader, and it's not that. And if you, and also I think over time it could change, but there aren't iconic commercials or even the most viral woman basketball player right now is the chick that plays at LA Fitness and is hooping up dudes every day. I don't know if you ever seen it, Miles, but like she is like shooting the three, putting a body on guys. She's doing a damn thing.
That's the most times I get to see female players is through YouTube and viral
right.
videos. Yeah.
But what I'm saying is, how many times if Brittany Griner is the most iconic WNBA basketball players, I can't tell you an iconic play that Brittany Griner made. I can tell you about the chick from LA Fitness. I can tell you about, I know who Diana Taurasi is. I know about a lot of other different things, but like, it's marketing. That's the job, to be able to put it forward. Like, pay some people to really do a good job for this, and don't beg for the sympathy.
For people who might find that Bill Burr is being harsh, Adam Silver in 2018 already had touched on this. He said it's interesting women's basketball is largely supported just in terms demographic by older men. For whatever reason, who like fundamental basketball, and it's something I've talked a lot to the players about, he said. We're not connecting with almost the same demographic that our players are. So he's basically saying roughly, let's say, age 21 to 34 age range, they weren't able to connect with these young female fans. So, I mean, it's been a problem in which he's used aligning it with the NBA schedule to try and fix, but you're basically speaking to the same thing he said in 2018.
You know how a lot of people went to the girls' basketball games when I was in high school? Girls JV, boys JV. Girls varsity, boys varsity. But and they split the pot. But you're sharing the same stage, but are you still equal? And I'm just saying, like, it's. Then the other part of it is the argument. Like, Brittany Griner wouldn't have went to Russia if she could have made more than $220,000 in America. Like, that's not a good argument. That's not just like $220,000 is a lot of fucking money to play a sport. That's not, no matter how much you want to try to make it, is not mainstream enough yet. And it's on them. Like, when I know CP3 has his basketball camp that I had a friend that's talked about. I know you have the ABC camp, the ABCD camp. LeBron James is putting schools out. Like, it's a lot of things that are going on, and I'm sure there are WNBA players that are doing similar. But like, you don't even hear that part of it. Or maybe they should branch off and be owned by women. Why does Oprah own a WNBA franchise? Like, again, some of the stuff is like I had the same conversation with Fangs Up podcast about HBCUs and people saying players should go this and they should do this, and I'm like, y'all don't care about HBCUs. The people who went there don't care about it like that, except for when you tweeting. The problem with activism right nowadays is that the activism is only telling us what's not fair, but not doing anything to prove that this is wrong. You know what happens when I have a friend tell me, man, Jay, what was I trying to think? Pho. I tell people I don't eat pho. Pho ain't nothing but fancy ramen, and that's one of the poor foods I refuse to eat again. I ate it enough when I was poor. Like, I know what doctored up fucking ramen is. All you did was take some filet mignon, chop it up, throw it in 2-cent pre-cooked noodles, and then charge me $50 for it.
That's a staple dish for another culture. You're calling penny food.
I mean, here it is. I mean, listen, seafood used to be for peasants, and now it's like, I mean, it happens. It's right. So I'm not knocking what you do, but like, shit, like, I'm not finna. That's your delicacy. Great. For me, bad memories. But if somebody were to present it and like, hey man, dude, you got it. Nah, bro, you got to put, the hot sauce in that shit, and then they put an egg, and then they do this, man. Man, come here, man. Let me show you, and let me let you experience the pho. You know what might happen? Might like that shit.
Yep.
But all you're doing is yelling on the top of a screen saying, it's not LeBron gets paid. No, my bad. The lowest paid NBA player gets the team salary cap for a WNBA team. That's not helping. Why should you get paid more?
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, not just because you're a woman. See, that's the argument is that a lot of times women's argument because you're beautiful. You're fine creatures, you're intelligent, which is what's striking with all of this stuff, is a lot of times your argument is because I'm a woman or I said so. And that's not in a socialistic or communism country, i.e. Russia. That's a good argument. In a capitalistic country, that's not a good argument. Period.
I mean, the direct quote, Silver was asked by Michelle Beadle. By growing the business, Silver said, the WNBA players are still paid a significantly more than the G League players, certainly the top players. But ultimately, this is not a Title IX issue. This is a business issue, and we still have a number of teams losing money. We haven't figured out the winning formula, to be quite honest. That's from the commissioner.
That's it. Now, going to my last thing, and I'll end it. Normally, I like to end things on a high note, but this isn't. This is kind of funny, though. So over the weekend, there was a tweet that I saw that didn't get any pickup, and maybe I hope it's not true. The only way somebody can extort you is if you care. And now, there are things you need to care about, like your kids. But like, I've never understood the sex tape extortion stuff. Because if I had sex, then I'm cool with what I had, unless it was somebody I didn't want to have sex with. But why have sex with people that you don't want to have sex with? But anyways, college football news. Penn State players subject of sexual extortion per report. At least 2 Penn State players were the subjects of alleged sexual extortion. Last September, one of the athletes met a woman on an app. This is like the dude for Virginia Tech. Like, stop getting on these apps, people. The student and the woman exchanged sexually explicit images. The woman extorted the student by threatening to publish the pictures online, which I would have said, you know what, do it. 1, you're going to jail for, I'm going to prosecute your ass because you can't do that. Revenge porn is illegal. And 2, I got what I got. It's not getting any bigger. In fact, statistics say that it might get, with blood flow lacking, it might get smaller. But you're not gonna you're not gonna make me feel guilty for what I got. The woman told, if you don't do what I tell you to do, I'm going to expose you. I post your picture under Franklin's page. That's the coach. She demanded the player send her more photos, and he did out of fear, which is stupid. Police said there were more than 24 videos and photos sent to the woman, including videos of group sex, a train, of undressed players in the football and of undressed players in the locker room. A link to the material was posted to some Instagram accounts, and the woman replied to a tweet of head coach James Franklin's account, personal account, tagging the players. This is why I always tell guys, don't do the snip snap, don't do the tic tac, don't do the little blurry photos on with the iPhone. You're the I'm not Kevin. I hate being like, I don't want to be pegged. I'm more TKT to the motherfucking K than I am Kevin, because I want women to win. I want everybody to win, right? But at the same time, dog, you're 2% of the population, bro. You are the fucking catch. Stop letting these hoes extort y'all. Stop making them feel. Stop putting the 40-year-old virgin. Stop putting the pussy on a pedestal. You know what's gonna happen if she doesn't like it? Well, oh my God, how will I ever live? She doesn't like. The girls are like buses when you're in this field. If you miss one, another one will come every hour on the hour promptly. I've seen this shit in action again. I thought it changed. If you think, oh God, I'm looking at you, the camera. If you think the shit has changed since I went to college, it hasn't. I was in a college club with a bunch of little ass kids, and I'm not calling Jordan Travis. If you got a girlfriend, I'm sorry, woman, you need to be secure and understand that this is bigger than you. I ain't seen that shit in the years, though. That dude is the Pied Piper of hoes at Florida State. That young man was walking through the club, and it was a trail of harlots following him. I loved it. I loved it for him. That's how I want my quarterback to be. Them boys walked in the room, them girls was on attention. It's tough when you're a regular dude and you're 5'6", and a dude that's 6'7", 325 walks in the club. No matter what they tell you, it's an internal innate feature that's in us to procreate with the strongest of the species. And y'all ain't got all y'all are broke, so they look like at least one day they'll make money. Stop letting this happen to you. So what? You know what's going to happen when she posts that picture? It's marketing. More hoes are going to see it, and more hoes the most they're going to do is somebody's going to laugh at you, key. Like, for example, Nelly, somebody put a Nelly sex tape out. I didn't see it. Women talked about Nelly was average size and blah, blah, blah. We know what's happened to Nelly. Nelly probably got some women that like Nelly now, that want to get more. I forgot about Nelly, want to go get some Nelly dick now. And for the record, as I found out on Thursday when we shot the bow, if she's talking about she's regularly taking 12 and 13, that bitch is a canister. Leave her alone. I saw what that does. That will penetrate through me, like with that dart, that bow that's going all the way through a normal person. You can kill somebody with that, bro. The key is sons. Men, be a father to your sons and make sure they understand their worth. Cherish the woman that you're with. And if she's your woman and she's about you, make sure she knows that she's loved. Make sure she's doing stuff. And I'm also like with people, like I saw TK put, you shouldn't even think about having sex until you got 25,000 in the bank. And then you could be like, you know what? I may partake in some sex this weekend. Now that my funds are up enough. Not 25,000, but I partake in that kind of stuff too. But like what I'm saying is athletes, you're a target, but because you're a target, you also have attention that other people don't have on them. And understand it, especially if you feel confident in what your size is and what you got, post that shit. I tell people that all the time. Somebody says, I'm going to do this. Do it. What do you want me to do? You think I'm going to cry and beg for you to not do something? And at a certain point, who do you think they're going to believe? I give book bags to kids on the weekends and feed people. I can't be that bad of a guy. But even then, like I'm the type, like I've always said, if I ever ran for office and somebody comes up and says, James did this to me, And I'm gonna say yes, Your Honor, I did. I apologize. I did not know that like when she told me she wanted me to put my big toe in her ass, I thought it was weird. I had never heard about that before. But the things that she tried to get out of me made me feel uncomfortable. But like, you just go ahead and tell the truth, because then what's gonna happen? Who's gonna feel more uncomfortable once you start telling your truth? This is Free Game by Big Game. But on that note, guys, check this out. We got the book bag drive going on. We got tons of media coming out. We have the Mikkanobi 1851 event that you should be checking out. Free game, good game given by Lonnie Legend, Lonnie Pryor, Jacoby McDaniel. You really just want to hear these guys talk. If you want to know about the NIL, if you want to know the mindset of what it takes to be an elite athlete, these guys got it. We got the interview with Charlie Hunt coming. Please check these things, share and follow it. I stopped telling y'all to get this thing to 1,000 views because apparently everybody's rich now because gas prices are going down. Thanks, Biden. Fucking up the business. But if we get this over 1,000 views, we will still do the Cash App stuff. $36 a book bag. We're about 50% raised of the funds. Please, come help us out. Donate a bag. The kid gets a bag. They get about a week's worth of groceries. We got some people stepping up, so there should be a lot of announcements being made. On that note, I'll chop it up with you guys later. One.